Today, I want to take some time to talk about motivation. You know, it's that time of year where I hear from a lot of people that, hey, I've lost some motivation, or I can't seem to find any, or I just don't have any motivation. Can you help me? And I think a lot of people get confused because they believe that some people just have motivation and others don't. But it's not necessarily the case. We all have the ability to generate motivation. It never just comes and goes as it pleases, like a lot of people seem to think. So you have to actually create motivation. So no more using the excuse that I don't have motivation, therefore all is hopeless and I'm never going to achieve my goals. There is hope. You have to actually manifest your goals. If you're not, it's easy to lose motivation. So you want to make sure that you are writing them down. Set an alarm in your phone so it goes off every day as a constant reminder. Write it on a piece of paper and put it in your wallet so that way you have to actually look at it whenever you open up your wallet. Whatever it is for you, find something that you can stick to so that you have a constant reminder of your goals every single day. So in order for us to create motivation, let's firstly look at how motivation is actually formed. Firstly, we have a desire to achieve something great. We have a spark in us that is pulling us or pushing us to do something great. And if you don't have this desire, you have to try to search for it, because if you're wanting to change your life, you can't unless you have something pulling you to do so. And once you do find that desire, the second you say, oh, I have a desire to do this, but I can't, your motivation is dead. It's gone. The second you start talking to yourself this way is the second that doubt creeps in and there's no way to actually for you to create your motivation and to sustain it long term. Next, we have determination. So once we find this desire, we find this spark to do something great, we have to figure out a way to sustain it. Because if you're not constantly trying to strategize a way to sustain your motivation, eventually that spark is gonna run out. The spark can only last for so long. So you have to ask yourself, what are you doing to sustain these desires? So I believe that you actually have to focus on your goal every single day and work on it every day. And I know so many people think that this sounds like so much work and that they're just not capable of doing this, but our brains actually crave consistency in progress. So by being consistent and progressing with our goals that we have set out, our brains actually release dopamine. This is the brain's reward center. So by releasing the dopamine, our brain actually starts to light up and it's like, oh, I like this, let's keep going. So it actually craves that consistency. So it gets easier over time the more consistent that you are. And then lastly, we have to consider is our domain. So this is our environment. Do we have a supportive and positive environment, or are we surrounded by negative people and people who maybe not be so supportive, and our environment isn't stable for us to actually achieve our goals? If you do have a negative environment or a negative support system, so many people are so quick to say, well, just cut that person out of your life. But what if this person is your husband, your spouse, your wife, your mom? Maybe it's your boss. People who are not so easy to cut out. So this scenario is familiar to you. You got to find a way to actually build a positive community. So if you have a negative husband, find a group of girlfriends who support your goals and are encouraging you to achieve them, and surround yourself with them. Once a week, go out for dinner with them and just build up that positive community. Join a Facebook group. There's so many positive Facebook groups out there with like-minded people that you can meet. Go to a seminar and just figure out a way to build that community for yourself, whatever it is for you. Surround yourself with like-minded people who are going to continue to push you to achieve your goals. So now that we have figured out how motivation is formed, let's take a look at the different types of motivation. So there are two types. The first one we have is extrinsic motivation. And this is motivation that comes from an external result. Basically, something is pushing you to do something great. So there are two types of extrinsic motivation. Firstly, we have is self-determined. So this is where you are doing something for a specific outcome. Now you can relate this to any aspect in your life. Since this is a fitness channel, I am going to relate it to fitness. fitness. So for example, say you are lifting weights in order to look a certain way, or you are doing squats in order to build up your booty. Those are external outcomes that you would get from achieving these goals. The next one we have is other determined. And this is where you feel like you have to do something. So for example, say your doctor tells you that you need to lose weight and that is pushing you to go to the gym. Or say you are being pushed to do more cardio because cardiovascular disease runs in your family. So basically you are being pushed to do something that you feel like you have to do. And this is great for short-term goals, but you can see how if you're feeling pushed to doing something you feel like you have to do, how the spark will eventually run out, which is why you want to try to evolve and fit your goals so they create the next type of motivation. Next we have is intrinsic motivation. This is the best type of motivation for sustainability purposes. Basically, this is where you have something pulling you to do something great, whether you feel like you have a calling or a specific purpose, whatever it is, something is pulling you and you have the desire and the need to do something great. This comes from inherently doing something just because you simply enjoy it. So for example, I love doing squats. Yes, there are external outcomes when it comes to it. You get better leg definition, you get really good glute gains, but if someone came up to me and told me you need to stop doing squats, they're gonna hurt your glute gains, I would still do them because I just feel the need and I have the pull to continue to do this exercise. So now that we understand how motivation is formed and the types of motivation, the next step is to actually create it. So what I want you to do is I want you to take out a pen and paper right now or once the video is over, and I have 5 questions that I want you to answer. Number 1 is, what desires and goals do you have? And you want to be as specific with this question as possible, determining the logistics of each goal, when the deadlines are, what are preventing you from doing them. Be as specific as possible. A lot of people are extremely vague when it comes to setting their goals, and it doesn't actually help you determine what you truly want and what your actual intrinsic motivation is for achieving these goals. So be as specific as possible. Number 2, what can you do to sustain these goals and these desires so you actually achieve them? So this is why being as specific as possible is extremely important in question number 1, because it allows you the ability to be strategic when you're answering question number 2. Question number 3 is, what can you change in your environment to help you amplify your motivation so you actually achieve your goals? Like I mentioned, trying to find communities that you can be a part of, going onto Facebook communities, maybe going to a couple of seminars, whatever you have to do to surround yourself with like-minded people with similar goals who are actually going to pull you and encourage you to achieve your greatness. Question number 4, I want you to actually classify the type of motivation that you have for each of your goals that you have assigned to yourself. So whether that is self-determined extrinsic motivation, other determined extrinsic motivation, or intrinsic motivation. You want to be as honest with yourself as possible when you are assigning these types of motivations to your goals, because it's going to allow you the ability to see where you can actually evolve your goals so you can get them towards the intrinsic motivation end of the spectrum. And question number 5, if you aren't there already, what is something that you can do to move yourself towards the self-determined extrinsic motivation and eventually to the intrinsic motivation? The types of motivations that you have assigned to your goals aren't fixed. They do have the ability to evolve. So for example, when I first started doing squats, I did them strictly to help with my glute gains and to the leg definition that I was seeing with them. But over time, that type of motivation definitely has evolved to an intrinsic type of motivation because I just love the way they make me feel internally. So once you've written these questions down, I want you to actually check in with them once a week, at a minimum every second week. If you're checking in with your goals every month, you're not going to progress. You're not going to be able to actually sustain your motivation. And if you're a high performer and you have a bunch of different goals set out for yourself, how are you going to remember them if you're checking in only once a month? So once a week, at a minimum every 2 weeks, and I want you to actually rewrite the answers to these questions down. I know that seems like a lot of work, but you got to do the work if you want to achieve your greatness. Nothing is just handed to you. You have to do the work. And in all honesty, you're more likely to actually achieve your goals if you actually write them down. You're never just going to achieve your goals if you set them in your head and put them out into the universe and hope, oh, well, I set some goals. Hopefully I get some return in the future and maybe the universe will help me achieve these goals because I put them out there. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You have to actually put the work in. Nothing is ever just going to be handed to you. You have to make sure that you eat, sleep, breathe, and believe that you're going to achieve your greatness. So that's it, you guys. I hope you found this helpful. Before we end the video, I have a couple of favors for you guys. Number one, I want you to actually comment your goals down below. I know that sounds so scary, right? I don't want to share my goals with anybody, but if you're actually sharing your goals, whether it's me with a stranger, your spouse, or anybody around you who you love, putting your goals out there into the universe, you're more likely to achieve them, because guess what? Everybody's watching now. It's time to get to work. It holds you accountable, and it forces you to actually start putting in the work to achieve your goals. So comment down below. I'm curious, what are your guys' goals? And lastly, just share this video if you find that you know somebody in your life who maybe is feeling a little bit sorry for themselves, that, oh, I don't have as much motivation as this person, therefore I'm never going to be able to achieve what I want in this world. Share this video with them. Give them a little bit of reality check that, hey, you have to put the work in, and we all have the ability to create our motivation. So that's it, you guys. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.